Good morning, my sweet people. This is the most cameras I've seen automatically turned on without being begged to. So I thank you, thank you, thank you. I am here in snowy West Virginia, and I am really, really super excited today. It is impossible for me to do something in an hour because I talk too much, but I will do the best I can. But you do have the action agenda, and I meant to put the link in for the slides, so don't let me go before I give you the slides as well today. So you'll have all the information. I'm going to share my screen real quick and just want to make sure that people, okay, you're already getting on there. So everything that you'll need is going to be right here on this link. Whoops, let me get back up here and start. I am a former high school English teacher who took off some time to have some babies, had 3 babies, and I was like, dang, I need a new hobby. So I came back to work. I started working as an English teacher in a technical center. And now I work with the Southern Regional Education Board, and I travel around and spread teaching love to whomever will listen, and pretty much whoever doesn't listen either, I still talk at them too. Here's my email address. Use it, use it, use it. I want to hear from you. I want to see things. I want you to ask me for resources. I want you to ask me for stuff. I am your resource. Been doing this for a long time. There's no reason, as stressed out as you guys are, thank you, dog, as stressed out as you guys are, have to search for things. So if you have a Cullen in your back pocket where you can email and say, hey, Deb, I'm getting ready to do this. Do you have any resources? Yes, I do. So this is an activity for social emotional learning that we're going to practice. So this is a Slido, and you can join this Slido by putting slido.com and putting in that code, or you can scan the QR code. And this is something that you can do with your students. You can do it in your PLCs. You can do it school-wide. So we're doing kind of SEL for all today. It doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're a teacher, if you're an administrator. We all have had a very rough couple of years. And it was difficult even before that. So those last couple of years was kind of like icing on the cake and cherry on the sundae and all those good things. So one of the best things that you can do is just to take small celebrations. Everybody hears all the bad. Let's take some strategies and do some good. So give me a shout out. I want you to thank a person, a team, a school, an administration. I want you to thank anybody you want to thank. Show me what you got. They're like, nope. Slido is a way that you can have interactive presentations. And you can tell us why you want to thank them too, if you want to. But this is a way that you can have interactive slides, but you can also do it face-to-face too. You can put these up on your board. See, I love this. And up in a corner, there is a little icon that shows me how many people have answered, so you can see your kids or whatever. But wouldn't this be a great way to just start a PLC or a class or come into a professional development, have this up on the board, and as people come in, they sit down, they thank someone. That is starting it off on a positive note. And sometimes it's really just the first 3 seconds of a situation that sets the tone for the day that it's going to be. You know, if you wake up and stub your toe, immediately you're ticked off, right? But if you wake up and there's a cup of coffee already on your nightstand, woohoo, that sets the tone. I thank God, thank Carrie for all your hard work. The great thing about Slidos also is that you can keep these when you're feeling yucky. And when you're feeling, or your kids are feeling yucky or whatever, you can just send these out and scroll through and look at these thank yous again. These are so fun to look at. Jim Evans for writing this grant. I agree.
That was not me. There was a lot of people involved in that. That's Wendy. That's not me. So anyway, there's a whole lot of people involved in that. So Wendy needs a thanks for that, not me.
I'll tell you one thing, Dr. Evans, I think in my experience with this man is one of the guys who has the hardest time taking thank yous. He loves to give accolades to other people. But Jim, we do appreciate all you do for all of us. Just your presence in and of itself is wonderful. Thank you. Nice, nice. So we have about 19 people in. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Get your thank yous on. These are great, everyone. Okay. All right, so you can continue to put your thank yous in. If there's something you want to thank later, because you have access to this, and it's a great way. We can even tweet some of these out later if we want to. So what is social emotional learning? It's a lot of stuff right now, but the basic areas that we're thinking about is that we're wanting to help young people and adults develop healthy identities, see ourselves, change those tapes in, manage emotions, achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy, 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 empathy. And I'm going to stop right there just for a second. The single best way for children to develop empathy is through reading, believe it or not, through reading, because that's when they get inside the minds of other people. So these social emotional things can also be done with your content. So that's another thing too. It's good that we can be able to do social emotional learning and content at the same time because you're very, very busy people. Establish and maintain supportive relationships and make responsible and caring decisions. So that's the area that we're looking at today. I say the creaking branch, that is from Mark Perna's book, Establishing a Why. And the creaking branch, that's how we start looking at things. You know, we're so busy that we have to pay attention to what's getting ready to break. The creaking branch is the fact that 1/2 to 2/3 of students have experienced trauma. And the thing about it is that trauma doesn't necessarily have to be something we deem trauma, but if they deem traumatic, it's them, right? So we have to be aware of that too. But see, this is also true for adults. We are adults who have experienced this 1/2 to 2/3 of trauma. What is trauma? A trauma is a negative external event or series or of events which surpasses the child's ordinary coping skills. It comes in many forms and includes experiences such as maltreatment, witnessing violence, or the loss of a loved one. Trauma can come from seeing something that didn't even happen to them on a movie they weren't even supposed to watch. How many of you were traumatized by a movie as a child? Whoop. Mom told me not to watch The Exorcist, hid and watch The Exorcist, still have nightmares. Okay, so how can trauma affect a student? It literally affects their brain development and their behavior inside and outside the classroom. In general, as teachers, you know that kids don't want to come to school being miserable. Teachers don't want to come to school being miserable. And I know you know those people. You're thinking, nope, they woke up and they chose violence and miserable today. There's something going on with those people. Most of us are walking around trying to do our best. And as an adult, from these experiences of childhood, we, with physical, psychological, or sexual abuse, violence against one's mothers, living in household where people are abused or incarcerated, or lots of things. And you know these things right now. And I think one of the positive sides, I guess you could say, of the pandemic is that it has come to the forefront of everyone's minds. It's not just teachers. We've known this all along, but now the world is starting to understand what we're dealing with in the classrooms. And it affects adults because a lot of us will have adult medical and psychological problems. And you might feel a situation where you might be having panic attacks and anxiety and all those, just being agitated, disorganized, all kinds of things. There is a common link to being in your fight or flight situation, which most teachers are in fight or flight every day in the classroom. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a negative situation. It's just that we're ready for, like, we're constantly tense when we're in front of a group of kids because we do not know what's happening. We don't know if it's going to go smoothly, if it's going to go well, if we have to run away, if we have to help kids get into some kind of situation. It's tough. And that cortisol literally builds up in your body and can cause lots of actual medical problems. So this is really a situation of taking care of ourselves medically as well. So let's get into talking about it. This is a wheel that we really look at when we're talking about social emotional learning. And we look at the actual areas of self-awareness, self-management, decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And that kind of builds out to our entire world of what we're trying to do in education. CASEL identifies SEL's 5 core competencies. And these are going to be those things that we just saw in the middle of that wheel. But I'm going to show you some strategies that you can use in each one of these areas. You can use them for yourself. You can use them for students. If you're an administrator, you can use them for your teachers. So these are things that you can use no matter who it is. Just have to be ready to, like, tweak things. And that's what teachers do the best. We know how to make things work for whomever the audience is that we're looking. So here's some of the things we're going to be looking at today. Checking in under the guise of self-awareness. How are we? How are your students? managing your emotions. Sometimes that's tough for adults. I'm 50 and I have a hard time managing my emotions sometimes. Can you imagine the world of those little ones or those teenagers coming in? I wouldn't go back and be a teenager in these days for anything. I think that growing up in the 80s was the best ever. My 16-year-old and 15-year-old, I can't even, the stuff that they have to deal with, you know that. And it's hard to manage those emotions. Expressing empathy, social awareness. We have more social media now than we've ever had before and less empathetic people in the world than we've ever had before. So there's a disconnect there. Building a culture of connectedness, being connected with people. How many of you have friends on social media that when you see them out, you guys don't even speak? It doesn't matter how many friends you have on Facebook or whatever, it's the actual connectedness. Relational and instructional leaders. Teachers want to know that the people who are leading them are instructional. They know what they're talking about. They know how to make relationships, and kids want to know that too. You know, kids know when you don't know what you're talking about. They'll jump right on her. Solicit feedback. You want your students and teachers want to be able to make decisions and be part of it and being shown love. So let's get into it and see what we're going to do. This is something that is really very, very simple. It's called What's Your Battery Life, okay? You can literally have these color sheets in your room, and you can have kids the very first thing of the day come in and color those sheets and show you what their battery life is that day. Also a great way to start a PD. I mean, I like a temperature feel when I'm going into somewhere. Or you could even send these out before a PD and say, hey, give me your temperature check. So let's try this real quick with another Slido. I want you to tell me your battery life today. 1 being low, you need to plug in, right? 5 being I am fully charged and ready to go. So tell me, what is your battery life right now? Okay. Yeah. I feel like the last month I've needed to plug in. I've been staying close to the wall on a cord. Okay. I mean, I think I mean, right there, that's a perfect bell. That's a perfect bell curve right there, isn't it? God bless teachers, though. Most of you will always say you're right in the middle because you don't want to ever make anybody uncomfortable. You're going to say, well, I don't feel great because I don't want to make anybody else feel like they're not, but I don't want to say I'm feeling awful. But this is a perfect bell curve. This is exactly what I would be expected to see. So this is just a neat way. And once again, this is a Slido. You can put this up at the beginning of the day or beginning of your PD, and you are ready to rock and roll in finding out how your people feel. Also, I thought that this was a really, really neat way of thinking about this. Is also a culturally responsive teaching strategy, but it's also kind of neat because sometimes I don't know that we really understand how our kids think about themselves. We don't get a lot of time with them, so we see them as we see them. But this is a neat activity, and I thought it was a great arts activity since we're all artists. So I'm going to take a moment and let you see these videos. This video, it's just a very short one, and I bet I have to stop it for a minute. Hold on. I didn't share my sound. Okay, let's try her again.
Is what makes you who you are: race, gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation. All your identity markers shape how you perceive the world, but also shape how others perceive you. So identity work in a classroom is very important because it builds a level of trust. Students feel safe to be who they are. Identity portraits are a project that allows kids to express their own identities. Basically, I give them a piece of paper. I give them colored pencils, markers, crayons, and I tell them that they're going to draw a portrait of themselves. They draw like their head and their shoulders. And then they draw a line down the middle of their face. Then I tell them to color one side, like the skin tone, the jacket or shirt that they're wearing. And then on the other side, I want them to add in their identity markers. And kids kind of tell their own story. They tell me who they are through a picture. One of the things that kids take away from our discussions is the difference between visible and invisible identity markers. If you walked up to somebody in the mall, could you tell that they are in a certain identity group? So people can see that I wear glasses, so that would be signifying that I have a disability. My skin color could be a signifier as far as my racial or my ethnic identity. Invisible markers, those are ones that either the person likes to keep hidden or that you just are unsure of. One invisible identity that I stress is mental health. A lot of people, you don't know that they're bipolar, depressed, those types of things. I talk about ethnicity, languages spoken, also race sometimes because some people are mixed race. We talk about religion. You don't know who somebody worships when you see them walking down the street. Also, we have a lot of great conversations about sexual orientation and the spectrum of gender. And so then we talk about perceptions of people and how when we assume, our biases and our prejudices creep in at the same time. After we finish the identity portraits, I put their projects on the wall so they see them every day and know that all those identities are accepted in this place. It's a really big growth point for a lot of kids that they are able to be comfortable with who they are and recognize and respect the identity markers of anybody.
Okay. Thoughts on that idea? What are you thinking in the chat or in just unmute? What are your thoughts about this activity as artists?
I really like the one where they're dividing their face and how they can be creative and how the world might see them. I just love that.
Awesome.
Everything that
I like
you're saying,
how
you go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I like how you can put those on the wall and all the kids see it. So it's a safe place for everyone, even though they may go home and it may not be a safe place for them to, tell them their true self and be their true self. So that's nice.
I like that reflection, Alex. Heather?
Yes, so I am a school counselor. That is my career. That's my position. I'm not an art teacher. So everything in this session that you're saying is just like, oh, it's gold. And when you first said at the beginning that social emotional learning can be connected to content, all content areas, I preach that so much to our staff because I teach social emotional classes every other week. I don't have to be the only one administering and teaching these classes. And so this, I wrote down all identities are accepted and respected. Like, I love that from this activity. Art is something, unfortunately, that was cut. We have music. She's here. Felicity's here. The actual art teacher was cut for funding purposes. Last year, I taught counseling and I taught K through 2 art. We tried to make it to where the PE teacher and myself, we divided up and to still provide art classes. It was just very taxing for all of us. So now the teachers are responsible for teaching art. And this is a wonderful activity that they can do where it brings both SEL and art. I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And and the thing about it is you could do this in history with a person that you're studying in history. You could do it in English language arts with a character. So it doesn't even have to be yourself, but it would be so cool too for the teachers to do this. I mean, what a way of really being able to see, hey, they're like me, or I'm not the only one, or, what a great way to make sure that we all feel like we are part of a culturally responsive and cohesive community together. I'm seeing. Go ahead.
Sorry. We do something similar to this. I call it the Silhouette Project. We learn about silhouette art.
Yes.
The first one, so I use an old school, if anyone out there still has a projector, like an old school projector, I sit the kids in front of it and trace their shadow. We do 2, one facing so that the 2 on the wall will face each other, and one gets just painted in black, like old school black and white silhouette. And then one, they use these identity markers, but I don't use that term. And that's something I need to do better. And so they can feel it, things they like, basically all this stuff that that she was talking about, but also about likes and dislikes as well. And then instead of their name on the wall, we do a guess who flap so that people who
Love that. Yes.
can look and see if they can guess who it is. And then they can turn up the flap and see their name. Wendy, have you ever seen, I always put them right by the office. Have you seen these? So if anyone still has that old school projector and they want to do it like silhouette style instead of a self-portrait style, that's another way to do it. And they can choose their medium too with that as well, like what they kind of vibe with.
I love it. And I was thinking about that guess who thing too. That's such a great thing for the kids. It keeps them engaged in it. It really keeps them engaged in awed and surprise and gets a lot of giggles and laughter or, oh my, just like me kinds of things. Yeah, I think I love that silhouette idea. That's a great way to do it. And, you know, too, sometimes as teachers, there's a lot of identity markers that are tough for us to talk about. And some teachers might have a hard time talking about identity markers. This would be a really cool way to like begin that process with your students too. Sometimes you might be uncomfortable and it comes out of us not knowing our own ignorance about certain things or uncomfortableness or whatever. This is allowing kids to be themselves, to express those identity markers and start feeling a little more comfortable, letting them know that they are welcome in your room, even if you're still struggling a little bit with how to talk about it or how to have a big conversation with it. Because I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves that it's tough for teachers too, to talk about these things. So I'm so glad that I love that activity. And I think it's one that would work no matter how old you are. Okay.
And based on the chat too, everybody else is loving it. So woo-hoo.
Yes. Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Okay. So going from, and I think I have another little chat here. Yeah, I think so too, Cassandra. I was going to give you a nickname, Cassie. Cassandra, I think so too. I think it would be fun to get to know who you're teaching with. We just look at each other and go about our days, but to know who you're really teaching with. Oh, Christy, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we have self-awareness there. Let's look into the world of, if I can get my thing, to our self-management. Now, this is a video that I literally Googled in YouTube, and it is about managing emotions. Now, this can be, and I have used this for more people. I use it for my own child. I use it for teachers. I use it for a friend of mine texted. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm having the worst day. I just send this video out. This is called box breathing, and there is a lot of research about breath work for lots of things. So let's take a moment and we're going to actually do this breath work activity together. Let's take a breath together. So it's literally just following the box. Okay, very, very simple to do that kind of thing with your students or with yourself. But another way that I love and that I've used for my son who has a lot of anxiety is have you ever seen the anxiety tape? There's actual, it's called anxiety tape and you can get it on Amazon and it is actually textured. Okay, so this is part of being grounded as well as breathing. And I put it on the back of his phone. And he actually, in school, because he's 9th grade, he doesn't want to be embarrassed. But when he's feeling anxious, he has a box of tape on the back of his phone. And so he knows, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And so he can do it with his thumb while he's holding his phone. But it's just a way to ground and take a moment. Now, you've been in a situation with your kids where they come in and they might be mad about something or they're fired up. It doesn't make a difference whether they're happy, sad, crazy, whatever it is. We just need a moment. And when I was talking about that cortisol buildup, breathing is one of the best ways that you can get that cortisol worked out of your system. So you can start a day like this, you can throw it in there, it doesn't make a difference. And there are millions of videos for box breathing. There's triangle breathing, there's 5-3-1 breathing, tons of breathing things. And I also like this because you might be able to give this to your students when it's actually you who needs the breath. If you're feeling particularly wound up or you just need a moment, you just need a moment, put this on, let them breathe, let you breathe. It's just, and it's interactive and they are engaged in it. Also, 2 new things that I have found out, that if you are having an anxiety or panic attack, ice and sour candy are 2 things that you can do very quickly. It is scientifically proven. If you see, first of all, a lot of people are now putting their faces in bowls of ice water in the morning and in the evening, and it has doing a lot to regulate something called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve runs from your brain down into your stomach. So you can actually put ice on your stomach or your face in it, and just doing it, and it's helping people relieve anxiety. But if you're in the middle of an anxiety or panic attack, or you see a child who's having an anxiety or panic attack, having them to go to the restroom and putting their hands in ice water, in, take it out, in, take it out, 3 or 4 times will actually alleviate the panic attack. And also a reason to give kids candy. I didn't need one in the first place, but now I've got one. Having a sour piece of candy in your mouth when you are having a panic attack, it automatically takes your mind out of the, I feel like I'm going to die. What if this person is going to do something to me? And literally puts it into your mouth like you're like, woo, right back in there. You're grounded back into what's really happening, because anxiety and panic attacks are focusing on things that aren't really happening, right? When you have a Sour Patch Kid in your mouth, you can't think of anything but that Sour Patch Kid in your mouth. So these are just ways to bring things back, bring a focus back to where you are and what you're doing. Okay, so that's self-awareness, helping our kids and ourselves manage our bodies and our emotions. And I love this. This is called an empathy map. Okay, and we're going to try this a little bit. Yes, absolutely, Cassandra. Cold packs are great to keep. Not even for accidents anymore, right? It's also for these anxiety situations. So we're going to talk about empathy. Empathy is huge, and there are lots of tools that you can go in and actually have empathy maps. This was from edit.org. It's in the bottom of that little screen there, and you can go in and they already have empathy maps made, or you can download them and create them to be the way that you want them to be. So we're going to try an empathy map right now, and we are going to say, I'm going to give you on your action agenda, right there where it says empathy maps. I want you to click on that, and that's going to take us to a Jamboard. Wow, Christy, that's awesome. Okay, so on this Jamboard, once again, for a Jamboard, in order to be able to answer something, it's great to be able to use the sticky notes. So I'd like for you to sticky notes, and I know that this is kind of small, but I've made this the background so that kids can't move the background. But you can put a sticky note. Now, you can do this lots of ways. Once again, this can be done with content, all right? This could also be done with a student when you're having trouble and you go to your PLC and you're all having a certain problem with a certain student or a certain student behavior. You can kind of work this out and think about what that child is feeling. So in the upper hand box, in the top left-hand box, it says, what do they think and feel? The next one over, what do they see? What do they hear? What do they say and do? And down at the bottom are pains and gains, things that'll make it difficult and things we can do to help. So let's all do this together real quick. And you can just put one in wherever you want to go. Let's think about a student who is 14, 15 years old. And they come in and they are mad. They're nasty with you. They're nasty with the other kids in the classroom. let's just go in and think about what they think and feel. What are they seeing? What are they hearing? What do they say and do? You can just pick one. Oh, thank you, Alana, for doing that for me. Yes, you can make those bigger or smaller, however you want. You can just drag on. Too much stimulation, overstimulated noise, absolutely. Oh, you guys are awesome. Look at this. I'm getting kind of choked up on this. I mean, these kids say these things absolutely every day. And when you start thinking about it on this side of like looking at this, I get really emotional about it because I can see them thinking these things and feeling this way. I think sometimes, and as you're doing this, I think sometimes, and this is a reflection as a mother of teenagers now, I was a 9th grade English teacher for a long time. And I remember when I had my kids thinking, you will never be a 9th grader. Like, you're not going to act like a 9th grader that I had before. And so I got real hung up on respect. They're going to respect me. They're not going to say things. And then when you really think about why they're saying things, it takes on a different mode. Like, I was looking down at what do they say and do. I find this with teachers and students when they say, this is stupid. This is boring. Many times it's because they don't understand it and they would rather die than admit they don't understand something. They would rather say it's stupid or boring than for them to admit that. My friend is sitting with someone else because I was in quarantine. That is very powerful. I never thought about that. Whoever thought about that one, you're like zoned in, because that's something I never thought about. Like, I was in quarantine, I missed 2 weeks of school, and now my friend likes somebody else better than me.
That was me. That was my daughter. She's in middle school.
Baby.
She's had some issues like that.
Oh, Greta, that makes my heart hurt. Daggone it. I think that my son gets overstimulated with things. So even though he plays basketball, he plays 9th grade basketball and loves it, sometimes he'll even say, I don't even want to go to the game. It's too much. And so there's just a lot. There's constant things in their face. I'm looking at a chat here. This is boring yesterday. She's 8. I bet you anything, it's either boring because she'd rather be on her phone or because she didn't understand it. So imagine this, doing this with your students. Doing it as an administrator with a teacher who you're having trouble with. Imagine doing this with a character, an artist. A lot of the artists are so like musicians and artists and things like that are so interesting to learn about because they had like these crazy lives, and it's so neat to learn about that and then look at their art and then think, oh my gosh, that makes sense to me. Like, I see why they made that kind of music. I see why they made those kinds of paintings or whatever, because their life was like this. We generally create from what we experience and know. So super powerful activity. I hate to keep going. I have to go because we're not enough time, but let's keep going here so I can get through all the lovely things I want to do with you. Okay, responsible decision-making. This is, first of all, I'm going to give you this, and this is, would you rather? And let me tell you what, kids love would you rather questions like you would not believe. And this is a neat way to get them to make decisions. If you've been a parent of a small child and that child is like, they want to do it myself. I do it by myself. I do it by myself. And then you figure out, okay, I'll give them two choices. They can pick out the outfit they want from the choices that I control. And that's what you can do as a teacher and parent, is helping kids to make decisions, even though you still control it a little bit. The would you rather game is a lot of fun to get kids in that mind frame of, would you rather carry a flip phone or a desktop computer? Would you rather spend your day without a phone or a day with no people at all? So it's just a neat thing to get them. I would do this because I would do this, or I wouldn't do this because. Kids go through their day having lots of decisions made for them. So being able to start the concept, and remember, everything is like a new skill. Decision-making sometimes is from the very beginning. So having them just to have these as a journal entry or fun things that you would be able to talk about. Would you rather perform at the Super Bowl halftime show or play football in the Super Bowl? So it's just really neat questions. So this is an article that I gave you in your action agenda that you can ask your kids, and you can even say, would you rather questions for teenagers, for kids, for adults. Be careful, because some of them are a little bit, you can get into some spicy content. So just be careful. But they're great things. And the ones that my kids love are the grossed out ones. My kids think it's hilarious. Would you rather drink swamp water or eat trash? Just ridiculous things. But it's also really neat to find out some things about your students as well. Yes, it's great for finishing a classroom or when you're finished early, and you can start them thinking about those things. You can also be very strategic about the way you ask those questions and really link it to your content or an event that's happened or coming up. Oh, that's cool. Rachel, you do it as a continuum. I love continuums. Yes, those are so great. Okay, so, and then this is a video of a teacher who's showing you how she would do it with a video. So if you wanted to do it remotely as well, or just put a video on, and then the kids will have two choices. Would you rather be a unicorn or a horse? And then if you would rather be a unicorn, there's one hand sign. If you want to be the horse, there's another sign. So you can actually have kids doing it where they're quiet, but you're looking at them doing it. I love this quote, and I think you may have seen it before, but either we spend time meeting children's emotional needs by filling their cup with love, or we spend time dealing with the behavior caused from their unmet needs. Either way, we spend time. And the reason I put that on there is because I've heard people say, or I say myself as a parent, I don't have time to do this. Well, you're spending time one way or the other, either helping them or dealing with them. So that's kind of another reason, that's kind of our why as well. So I love that quote. This is a just like me strategy where you are trying to build that relationship once again. And for instance, this could be from the beginning, establish a signal for quiet. So, because, once you get kids talking, you have to bring them back, establish a routine. Then you have kids write down 5 things about themselves. The teacher starts, you choose someone goes next, and ensure everyone gets a chance. So maybe what I would say is, I'm going to say something and I want all of you to say, hey, that's just like me, if that follows. Okay. Or right now, since we're on Zoom, we can have a thumbs up. We can either give a thumbs up in front of our face, or we can use our little icon. So I have glasses. Yeah. So you're essentially saying just like me. Okay. Now that's an obvious one. I might say, I have 2 siblings. Okay. Then I would pick somebody who was that. So let's say Samuel, can you go?
I have no pets.
Gary doesn't, Greta. Yeah, Alex. All right, Sam, you'll pick someone else.
Or Alex Britton.
Oh, thank you, Sam. I play an instrument. All right, Tony.
Thanks, Alex. This point of the year, I have high anxiety.
Okay, so that's a good one. I think everybody's there. So this is a game that you can do with lots of different things, but it's just a neat way to be able to see, because kids and teenagers, they think that they are the only person things are happening to. They think they're the only person that has had this kind of thing happen to them. Teachers also feel this way. When you go into professional development and you're thinking, they have no idea what I'm dealing with. If they only knew at home I had this, if they only knew what was in my classroom, if they only knew that I had to deal with this, if they only knew that this was what my childhood was like, if they only knew, she's like right on the nose. So these are things that we have to, it's simple ways that we can get kids to play and teachers to play along that help us to connect and understand we are not alone, and there might be someone that we can rely on a little bit. Once again, people just want to be known as, I want you to know that I am trying my best. I'm trying my best, but they don't want to say it. So that's a just like me game. This is other ways that you can get to know your students. Just a nice little relationship builder. A nice graphic. Okay, responsible decision making. This is a really neat format for a reflective group conversation. Once again, this can be done after there has been something to happen. But it also would be kind of neat to do with some scenarios to prepare before things happen. You could literally do this with one of your students. If you had a student and you have a discipline situation, you could do this with your student. What happened? Tell me the facts using all your senses, all right? What did you feel like inside when this happened? Where do we go from here? What do we do now? Oh, I'm sorry, what do you think about it? What does it mean? And where do we go? What are some decision making? So this is something that you could use also as a team for a student. This could be done with administrators and counselors for a teacher who has gone through some things. This can be done once again with characters and different things like that in decision making. So it's a great way to just have a conversation. Conversations sometimes are really hard, especially when something bad has happened. And really, as teachers and parents, we want our kids not to just be punished. We want them to also reflect and learn from those situations. Why am I acting like this? Why did I do that? Why was I feeling that way? How did I interpret it all? And now what with it?
Hey, Deb.
Yes, Debbie.
I want to jump in here. I had a student just this week come to me and he says, Miss Debbie, I don't understand why I behave this way. So his reward is when he gets 5 stars in the classroom, he gets to come spend some time with me in the library.
Oh, bless his sweet little heart.
Yeah.
Use this with him, Miss Debbie. Maybe you can use this with him and help him see, maybe start doing this.
Yeah, I've had a special bond with this baby since he's been in our school, and he trusts me. And that just.
I'll tell you one thing: if you accomplish nothing else in your entire career, the fact that this child considers you to be his 5-star reward.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna make me. You've changed a life, Miss Debbie. You've changed a life.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Oh, that is so sweet. Oh.
He's my boy. He's my boy.
Yeah. Sandra, that's a very good question. What happened right before? Because that can even happen with us as adults as well. What happened right before? Okay, teachers want choice too. In professional development, when you have responsible decision making and choice and all those kinds of things, choice boards are a fantastic thing to do. Choice boards you can use. This is kind of an idea of whether, how you can choose what your professional development is. So I just thought that this was kind of a neat way where you have to make a bingo. And so you have to use a bingo and you do all these things. And that is your professional development. They even have these on a certain topic. Poor Debbie's over there just crying her eyes out for that baby. They have ones for like, let's say we're learning a new tool. When we really need to understand how to use Google tools. They have them for this. So it's a neat way. And you could do this with your students too. Give them a bingo board. And as long as they make a bingo, then they have worked through activities that help them get through your content. Also, student choice boards. This is a link to help you make a virtual one where you can give them choice on what they do. And there are lots of different ways to do that. And I actually even have a training session on that maybe I can just send over that information for you. Okay, so let's take the last few moments that we have together because I know you have a session at 10. It's 9:48. And we are going to do a little bit of reflection and we're going to do a little bit of how can I use this in my classroom? Because you are in a lot of professional developments and a lot of these ideas come at you and you need some time to actually think about them. So let's pause for a moment. I'm going to stop and share for just a moment. Look back at the action agenda and actually let me give you the link right now to the slides as well. Okay. Here's the link to the slides. And I want you to take a moment for reflection. Okay. Want you to put in the chat one of the strategies that you've seen today that you are going to immediately use in your classroom next week. Tony says empathy maps. Awesome. The continuum. Audio is cutting out. Would you rather breathing video? Yes, Alex, I want you to give me one of the things you saw today that you're going to take back right now and use in your classroom. Those of you who want to use the breathing video, you can also put tape on your students' desks. That way that they can do that and they'll get used to it. And maybe then they'll start using it on their own, even if you don't stop them for that. Just put a little box of tape on their desk and let them do that. Oh, yay, the self-portrait. I'd love to see some of those self-portraits. Fantastic. I think that when we have drills, like fire drills and things like that, those noises can be very triggering to certain students. So to do some kind of box breathing when they come back from a fire drill, or if you have to do an active shooter drill, which is unfortunate that we have to do those things, but it would be a really neat way to bring them back into their bodies and let them know we're back, nothing's happening, because some of those kids are going to come back from those drills and they're going to be having some anxiety and panic attacks, whether we see it or not. Okay, do you all have a little piece of paper, or can you grab a piece of paper real quick for me? Wendy, you're going to want to get your camera because this is going to be a good photo op. All right. I'm going to go back to my presentation for just a moment to show you what I want. Okay, I want you to give me one word today. It's going to look like this on our Zoom screen. I want you to give me one word that sums up this training, anything that you learned from it, anything you're thinking about at this point from today. So grab a piece of paper, write down one word.
Oh, now I'm going to cry.
I know. I get crying too. I get all tearful.
In the feelers. That gets
I
me
know.
right.
I hit you right in the feels.
Yeah.
So when,
Oh,
oh yes, when you get them, put them up
look how sweet.
and make sure Wendy has time to take a picture of these.
Yeah.
Andrea,
Oh.
move yours back just a little bit. I can't see what it's blurry for some reason. What in the world? Oh yeah, you're
There you go.
ah, results. Refreshment, useful, hope. Oh, we instilled hope, encourage.
Oh, wow. These are so good.
Awesome, love, reset, self. Yes,
These are so good.
they're good.
They're so good.
Impact, yes. I love it.
All right, wait just a second. I think I've got everybody. Hold on just a second.
That's okay, Rachel.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's good. It's good. When I look at it, it's good. All right. I'm going to take it. All right. Hold on. I'll take it. Jim Evans'
All right,
picture.
hold on. That's okay. I love how some people are like, I'm not showing my face. Some people are peeking out.
Love it. I got it.
I like the big face. I like the smiles. It's great. All right, Wendy, you got him?
Got it.
Get it?
Oh, wait. Let me do it again. Greta's is up there. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry. All right. One more time. Apologies.
It's okay, Kayla.
So cute. I love it. All right. Thanks.
All right. And my one friend, anytime she hears something good, she'll say, that'll preach. Well, that'll tweet.
That'll tweet.
I had a great day with you. I could have spent hours on this topic. There are some additional resources on your action agenda that we didn't go over today that I just provided. Like one article is 10 anxiety activities that and they're much like the ice bowl and the sour candy and things like that. But I thank you all, and I know that it's been so difficult. And I really want you to take back these things to your principals or whatever and say, you know what, I'd really like to do one of these. Oh, I'm so glad, Jamie. That I can't tell you how much that means. Oh, you guys, take these back to your principal and say, listen, I want to do some of these things with the staff. You guys deserve to have a break. You guys deserve to have some time for you to express yourselves too. The kids are having a hard time. The teachers are having a hard time. The administrators are having a hard time. So let's all, and I'm telling you one thing right now, don't ever underestimate the novelty of learning and breathing, because how many of us remember every song we ever knew from our childhood, right? Novelty will let us remember things. So I don't care whether you're 5, 15, 50, or 500, you like to color, you like music, you like drawing, you like to express yourself. I love you. Thank you so much for what you do. And this was great. Love you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Deb.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I will, Lana or Alana.
Yeah, now you can see why we always want Deb. I pulled her in the arts grant sessions for us just because I love her so much. She originally wasn't ours, but I stole her a little bit anyway because I wanted you all to have her. She is amazing. We were kindred.
I am passionate. I do. Thank you all. I do. I love what I do, and I literally live and breathe this world. I really honestly do. So thank you so much.
Is fantastic. Thank you all. And we have our next session. I was looking to see if she has joined us yet.
Are you staying on this?
Yes, we're staying on this Zoom.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Thanks, Deb.
Bye.
I thank you and my bird thanks you.
While we are waiting, the link to the slides, yes, I will put that in here as well. And I was looking to see if she has joined us yet. Dr. Evans, can you see? Okay, isn't Deb just amazing? She's fantastic.
I don't think our other presenters on here yet. So
Okay. So while we're waiting, and she sent me so I know she's going to be joining us. I'm gonna record because I'll forget. I have a friend who is in music therapy as well. Family friend. I have known her whole entire childhood, and she is now a young lady, but I've watched her grow up. I know how passionate she is and has been throughout her whole entire schooling. And I know little bits about music therapy. I know what Juliana has done with her career. So I invited her to come and speak. And Juliana was like, I'm not really in the school setting, but I have a dear friend who she went to Belmont with. And so she recommended Miss Lydia to come and speak to you all. I am so excited because you all are going to get to hear what that looks like and what that sounds like, feels like in the school settings. And Miss Lydia Billings is here, and she's going to share with you some strategies, practical applications. You all feel free to ask questions. I'm excited personally. I was telling Lydia, as a former special education director, I know the impact. I wanted to see that come into our school district. Maybe your school districts may have music therapy. We really want to see some of these strategies being brought into classrooms. So without further ado, Miss Lydia Billings.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here. As Wendy said, today is going to be an opportunity to learn more about the field of music therapy and also about its implementation in the school system. I live and work in Nashville, Tennessee, and have the pleasure of providing music therapy services through the company that I work for in some of the private school systems and public and charter schools. So I'm kind of a little all over the place. But my goal by the end of today is three things, and this is actually on the top of your agenda as well if you have that pulled up. But I want you to be able to walk away from this session, for those of you who work with high schoolers, with older students, with the tools to be able to talk about a career in music therapy. This is a really great field for students who enjoy the creative arts. And so just growing in your knowledge of that, to also be able to advocate for music therapy within your communities, whether that's in your school, or we're going to talk about lots of other places where music therapists work. And then to also be able to intentionally use music in your classrooms. We'll talk about a few specific ways today, but also, like Wendy said, please feel free to ask questions. I'm going to have a chunk towards the end of the presentation specifically for that, so feel free to write any down and we will answer then. Before I share my presentation screen, something that we talk about a lot in the field of music therapy is starting off our sessions with some sort of welcome, some sort of song. And so I am going to play and sing a little bit for you all today to get started. So feel free to just sit back and relax and listen. The words of this song, this is called It's a Good Day by Stephanie Level. And this is just sort of some affirmations for this session and also for the rest of your Saturday. It is very sunny here in Nashville, and I hope that it is where you all are as well. Paint on my hands, a song in my heart. I'm thinking of you even though we're apart. It's a good day. It's a good day. Extra love in the air, extra care everywhere. Can you feel it in your bones? The world's right there. It's a good day. It's a good day. Today is gonna be an awesome day. Singing and dancing in my own way. We're all in this together, it'll be okay. It's a good, 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 good day. Oh, 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 close my eyes, you're right by my side. Even if we have to stay inside, it's a good day. It's a good day. We are brave and we are strong. We are connected through art and song. It's a good day. It's a good day. Today is gonna be an awesome day. Singing and dancing in my own way. We're all in this together, it'll be okay. It's a good, 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 good day. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Thank you. Well, so right off the bat, like I said, this song is called It's a Good Day by Stephanie Level. And especially for those of you who work with elementary schoolers, please write down her name, Stephanie Leavell. She is a wonderful music therapist and music educator, and she puts out music on Spotify and YouTube and has an amazing podcast and website with lots and lots of tools and wonderful movement songs and songs for social emotional learning. And she is just one of my favorites. And so please go check out her music and all of the wonderful things she has to offer. Alrighty, well, I'm going to share my screen. Oops. All right, hold on. Sorry, y'all.
And Lydia, someone asked if you could repeat the name again of who you just.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Stephanie, Stephanie, Level, Leavell. I'll put that in the chat too. Alrighty. Okay, take two. All right, can you all see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up? Perfect. Alrighty. Like I said, my name is Lydia Billings. I'm a board certified music therapist. I graduated from Belmont in August of 2020, so I've been in the field for almost 2 years. And I work for an organization called Project Play Therapy here in Nashville. And they offer all sorts of pediatric therapy services, occupational therapy, speech language pathology, physical therapy. And so I have the pleasure of getting to collaborate with lots of different therapists and then teachers and educators and other professionals within the school system as well. And so to start off today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my story. I grew up in East Tennessee, so I'm about 3 hours from my hometown. I grew up in Maryville, right outside of Knoxville. And all growing up, I was super involved in the arts. So I did a little bit of everything, like you name it, music, dance, theater. And I always knew, especially as I got kind of into middle school and high school, that I wanted to pursue a career in the arts. And I kind of ruled out pretty early on that I didn't really want to be in the competitive world of performing as much as I loved that. But I also loved helping others and being hands-on with people. And so I kind of went through everything trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I would go to college fairs and I would say, hey, I am really interested in the creative arts, and I also want to be hands-on with people. And college admissions counselors would look at me and be like, I don't really know what to tell you. And so one day my mom and I got on Google and just started looking and to see what kind of career paths were out there. And music therapy popped up. And the more that we started to read about it and the more we started to kind of start looking at specific colleges, I said, wow, this is the perfect combination of the things that I am passionate about. This is evidence-based. I love science and psychology. I love music and getting to incorporate that. And then to be able to do that one-on-one or in groups with people, a very, very hands-on profession. This sounds perfect. And so I spent 3.5 years in classes at Belmont, and then part of the music therapy education, which we'll talk a little bit about in a minute, is a 6-month clinical internship. And so I got to do my clinical internship in an addiction recovery facility right outside of Nashville. So very different from what I'm doing now, but kind of a really great example of different places that music therapy is super applicable. So I got to work on lots of mental health goals and coping skills, and a lot of processing through trauma and things like that with the individuals that I worked with there. And then I began my job here at Project Play Therapy in Nashville. And so that's just a little bit about my story and kind of where I come from and where I am at now. All right, so we are going to do a little bit of some interactive participation here. So I would love for everyone to put in the chat some way to answer this question. So how has music helped you or someone you know? It can be really specific, it can be really vague, just thinking about music within your life. How has music helped you or someone you know? I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see the chat. Yeah. Thank you all for sharing. I see music has made me who I am today. Without it, I would be lost. It brings me joy every day. I see several comments about music helps me to work out, gets me fired up, changes my mindset. It gave me a community, can help express emotions. Absolutely. Music provides an escape from reality at times. I can go into my own world and forget my problems. Absolutely. Music is a coping skill. Help me come out of my shell and make new friends. A home and community for myself, my friends, and my students. Saved me from a traumatic home life, led me to become a music educator. Thank you for sharing. Music is therapy for my heart and mind. Absolutely. Helps me every day, ground myself when I'm anxious. Yes, music playing in my classroom. We're going to talk about music as a grounding tool for anxiety in a little bit. Calming when stressed, career path. Ooh, I love this. Songs and genres for different parts of my life, like a soundtrack to a movie. Music is life. I totally agree. Gives me an outlet, helps me feel my feels, brings back memories, joy, calm, energy. Yes. Oh, you all, thank you so much for sharing. I love this. Music helps me focus while I'm working, and I use it in my classroom to help students focus. I love to hear it. We're going to talk a little bit about that later as well. That is awesome. Yes. So thinking about all of these wonderful responses, music on its own can have such a positive impact, right? You all are talking about how music can help you with, oh yes, I love the Super Bowl halftime show. Absolutely, brings back those memories. Oh, you all, thank you so much for sharing this. This is awesome. Yes, so music on its own can have this such a positive impact, but today we're going to talk about how, like thinking about how great of an impact that music has had in your lives on its own when you have it playing in the background, when you're listening to it by yourself. We're going to talk about how that impact can be multiplied when it is used intentionally and therapeutically by a professional. Thank you all so much for sharing. I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to talk about just the definition of music therapy. I'm not sure, some of you may have encountered music therapy or music therapist before, but we are going to talk about what exactly it is and some of the history. And again, my hope is that then when this comes up in conversation, that you all now get to be advocates as well. Go, oh, I know what music therapy is. Let me tell you about what I learned. All right, so music therapy is an established health profession in which music is used within a therapeutic relationship to address physical, emotional, cognitive, and social needs. So many of those things that you all brought up that music so naturally speaks to, right? Physical needs of when you're in a workout, emotional needs to help you process and cope, cognitive needs to help you focus, to help your students focus and attend to activities, and social needs, it connects you with others. I know that those of you who are music educators especially, or have participated in group ensembles, that is such a connecting point. So within the field of music therapy, after assessing the strengths and needs of each client, the music therapist provides indicated treatment, which includes a wide variety of music-based interventions, creating music, singing, moving to, or listening to music. And then through that musical involvement within the therapeutic context, within that relationship with the music therapists, clients' abilities are strengthened and are then also transferred, generalized to other areas of their life. So our goal is always that what we are working on within the music therapy context can then be carried over to their school life, their home life, their relationships. Alrighty. So I think this is super interesting because one of the questions that I'm always asked when I tell people I'm a music therapist is, oh, is that new? I haven't heard of that. Like, that's a pretty new profession. And I always love to come back and tell them, actually, no. This has been around for a long time. It has had growing popularity within probably the last 20, 25 years of just how many music therapists there are. So this dates back all the way to the 1800s, where there were medical dissertations covering the therapeutic effects of music. There was the first recorded intervention, an experiment. And then as we kind of got into the early 20th century, there were a few short-lived organizations, some more educational courses as people started talking about, okay, wait a second, this has a really big therapeutic impact. The first degree program was at Michigan State University in 1944, and then it has just exploded from there. So we had two different kind of national organizations, the National Association for Music Therapy and then the American Association for Music Therapy, which started to provide those standards for educational and clinical training. They created the board certification requirements, which all music therapists are required to have, started publishing research in clinical journals. And then in this time frame from 1950 to 1997, we went from a few dozen practitioners to thousands. And so where we are today is in 1983, we had the Certification Board of Music Therapists, known as CBMT, and that is our governing board that was created to strengthen the credibility of music therapy as a profession by ensuring competency of music therapists. So they are the ones who are in charge of all our continuing education. I know that y'all as teachers are very familiar with that. And I thought that this was so cool. So I did a presentation similar to this several years ago, pre-COVID. And this number was that there were over 7,000 music therapists to date. And in those past 2 years is now jumped to over 9,000 board certified music therapists to date, which is so, so cool. And so that we also have the American Music Therapy Association, which you can go to musictherapy.org, and that is their website, and they have lots and lots of wonderful resources. That's where you can find research articles. That's where you can learn more if you are interested. After the presentation today, that is where you can find music therapists and music therapy degree programs. They have a directory. And so they really united the music therapy profession by combining those previous organizations. And their mission is to advocate and educate for the music therapy profession. And so they get to represent music therapists in the US and in over 30 countries around the world, which I just think is so awesome. All right, so we talked a little bit about earlier how my clinical experience has really been in lots of different settings. When I was in my practicum, I got to go into a hospital to work with pediatric patients. I got to go into a nursing home facility. I was in inpatient and outpatient psych. And so music therapists work in so many different places: hospitals, schools, assisted living facilities, hospice care, correctional facilities, mental health and addiction recovery, community-based organizations, programs for children and adults with disabilities, and more. So there are music therapists everywhere. And this picture is actually of a music therapy friend of mine who's providing services in a client's home through her private practice, which I think is awesome as well, to have some of those for our clients who may not be able to go and seek services elsewhere. All right, and so then this is another one of my questions that I get asked all the time when I tell people I'm a music therapist, is sometimes they'll say, oh, I met somebody who does music therapy, and lists one of these things. The person is not a board certified music therapist. And so our profession is working very, very hard to get licensure in all 50 states, which will further protect our our profession from all of these things, which I am not saying that any of these things are bad. They are all wonderful. And like we talked about earlier, music can be used therapeutically in so many different contexts, but that does not mean that it is music therapy. And so I just like to, whenever I'm sharing about music therapy with people, kind of go over some of these things that, you know, an individual with Alzheimer's listening to music on an iPod, or groups such as bedside musicians or musicians on call, etc., which are all do wonderful, wonderful work, but we do provide that important distinction. Celebrities performing, piano player in the lobby of a hospital, teacher using music with students with disabilities, high school student playing guitar in a nursing home, etc. So all of those things are wonderful, and we always advocate for music being anywhere and everywhere to support that environment, but it is an important distinction. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, one of the goals of my presentation is for you all to be able to talk to your students who may be interested in learning about becoming a music therapist. Because like you may have students in your classrooms like me who want to go into something with the creative arts and have no idea where to start. And so across the board with music therapists in education, you do have to obtain a bachelor's degree or higher in music therapy from that American Music Therapy Association approved school. So I believe there are over 70 now across the United States, and maybe more, but these degrees require knowledge in psychology, medicine, and music. So combine a lot of different classes, which was one of my very favorite things about it. Was I not only was in music performance classes and in chorus and things like that, but I also got to take biology and anatomy and physiology and all of those things to combine all of this knowledge. And so then as a whole, the degree requires 1,200 hours of clinical training. So that includes observation and 4 semesters of practicum experience within your degree while you're doing your coursework, and then also a 6-month internship at the end. So it's technically a 4.5-year long program. And then finally, you sit for an exam, which is where you get the board certified music therapist credential. And this protects the public by ensuring competent practice and requiring continuing ed. And then, like I said, some states require additional licensure. We are really pushing for that to be all states. All right. So jumping into music therapy in the school system, this is where we really dive into places where you all can advocate within your schools and within your districts and with your administration for the importance and the possibilities of music therapy within the school system. I have just been so struck as I have started working in the school system and providing services of and then also talking with other music therapists who provide services in the school system of how many possibilities there are for a partnership. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Jump back a little bit. All right. So music therapy is implemented in schools across the country to help students meet physical, emotional, cognitive, academic, and communication goals. So there are 2 different kinds of music therapy, primarily just the way it's structured within the school system. The first one is what we would call programmatic music therapy, which is not tied to students' IEPs. So students who have disabilities often have an individualized education plan, and this is when music therapy is programmatic within the school system, it is not tied to the IEP. So in this instance, usually schools or districts decide to provide music therapy services to support students. So either it's funded by the school or funded by a grant or some other kind of funding source. And there are no individual assessments or goals or services listed on the IEP. So some examples of this are, I have some music therapy colleagues who go into a high school and provide music therapy sessions for whole classrooms. So they go into all of the special education classrooms and provide services for that whole class once a week. Sometimes there may be topic or skill specific groups. So looking at social emotional learning or academics, you might have a music therapist who comes in and works with all of the first graders on sight words. You know, they have a once a week sight words group. Or maybe coming into a high school and combine students with disabilities and gen ed peers for a social emotional group focused on social emotional learning. And then another way that programmatic music therapy services are implemented is through consultation with teachers to support students through music. So a school might bring in a music therapist to consult with teachers, whether that be their general education teachers or their music educators or whoever, to help students with disabilities to access that curriculum, to help those either modify the content or create, accommodations, or just kind of give strategies to help supporting students with learning differences to access their curriculum. And then this is what most of my time is spent doing, and this is what we call IEP-based music therapy. And so IEP teams in any school district, including parents, can request a formal music therapy assessment to determine if students qualify for music therapy as a related service on the IEP. So a related service is defined as anything that is required for a student to access their education. So under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as IDEA, this requires, let's say a parent in your school said, hey, I really want a music therapy evaluation. The school can legally not say no. They have to say yes and have to find a music therapist to come in and do that evaluation. So this is what most of my job is I provide mostly IEP-based music therapy services. So the students that I see have qualified for this as a related service on their IEP. And we use an assessment called the Special Education Music Therapy Assessment Process to determine the educational benefits of music therapy. It's what most music therapists in the schools use. And it looks at data between non-music instruction that the student is already receiving and a music therapy session. So if we see significant improvement from the instruction they're already receiving compared to the music therapy session, then it would be considered educationally necessary for them to receive music therapy services to help them make progress and to access their education. And so music therapists who provide IEP-based music therapy services may recommend group or individual services. I see all students one-on-one. I don't have any groups right now. But then we also have what's called direct and or consultation services. So direct is seeing a student one-on-one in a therapy setting. And then consultation is what we call adult to adult. So I have the privilege of getting to collaborate with teachers all across the school. Anyone can come to me for students who have consultation services in their IEP and say, hey, this student is struggling with XYZ in this class, or we need some additional help for them to make progress in this area. And I can provide strategies and services in that situation. Okay, and so I thought that it might be kind of helpful and interesting to talk a little bit about what my day looks like. We've talked a lot about what music therapy is and how this looks in the school system, and so I just wanted to share sort of a mock day in the life, a combination of some of the students that I see, to give you some examples of just the wide range of needs and benefits that music therapy can have. So let's say we have client A, who is an elementary schooler. She's in 4th grade. She has an intellectual disability, and we are primarily focused on her basic reading skills. So she's struggling to make progress with sight words and phonemic awareness and things like that. And so we pair songs and movement to support recalling sight words. We use singable books and music as a memory tool to support reading comprehension, so answering questions and sequencing. And then she also has a fluency disorder, and so we are singing for self-expression to support that fluency of speech, to support her stutter. And so then I move on in my day. I head over to a high school where I see clients B and C, and they both have several diagnoses of autism and some communication disorders, and use what we call AAC devices, which are alternative and augmentative communications. That looks like they both have an iPad with different symbols on it that they use to communicate instead of verbal speech. And so for them, we have goals related to expressing their wants and needs. And so we work on expressing themselves within music therapy interventions. And then we also work on motor initiation and coordination to support them in accessing those devices. You know, they have to reach and navigate the screen in ways that students who communicate verbally, it's kind of an extra, you know, barrier there. And so we work on some of that coordination so that they can access it effectively. I move on to client D, who is a middle schooler who has had a traumatic brain injury as a child and also uses one of those devices, an AAC device, to communicate. He is working on expressing himself and also working on independently completing activities and focusing for longer periods of time. So a few weeks ago, we were working with a keyboard that had color-coded stickers on the octave middle C. And we were working on him playing color-coded sheet music independently. So we had to scan the sheet music and play, and he was working on focusing and maintaining that attention to complete an activity. And then finally, I headed up back to another elementary school where I was working with a child who has autism spectrum disorder. And we are working on initiating and maintaining conversation with others. So working on those social skills through music. We're working on emotion regulation, so identifying his emotions and how he can self-regulate. And then we're also working on sensory regulation and impulse control through movement and instrument play. So those are just sort of some examples of some of the students that I get to work with each week and some of the kind of example goals that we would be working on. And those range so widely. And that's one of the things that I love most about music therapy is that it can come in as an additional support for so many different areas of need. Okay, and so I wanted to hit, before we kind of move into talking about different strategies, I wanted to talk a bit about the difference between music therapy and music education. This is another question that I get asked really frequently. And so whenever I'm talking about the next slide after this will talk about the importance of both. I'm never advocating for one over the other, but just talking about the differences. And so I had a sweet friend who's a music educator who kind of helped to talk about some of these differences and the goals for these. So for music therapists, we use music-based interventions to target non-musical goals. So our goals are never about playing the instrument or singing the song or things like that. We are using those things, those musical experiences as tools to work on some of those things that we've talked about. So academic skills, communication, language, self-expression, social skills, emotional well-being, self-awareness, motor development, daily living skills, and more. And so then music educators focus on those musical goals by engaging students in that vocal or instrumental performance, music theory, composition, oral skills, music history, and more. And like I said, I always want to stress the importance of both, is that music therapy is this unique evidence-based way to support students in accessing their education and reaching their full potential. It can increase attention and motivation to participate more fully in the educational setting. And also, like I've mentioned a couple of times, that we can collaborate with other teachers and therapists by providing effective ways to incorporate music into their curriculum and sessions. And then music educators, y'all are my heroes as someone who spent a lot of time in choirs and ensembles, that y'all give the students the tools that they need to actively participate in the so many rich musical environments that the world has to offer. And that access to music education, kind of as we talked about back at the beginning when y'all sent everything in the chat, can help develop those essential skills that benefit students in other areas of their life and education, especially when students are given access to music education from an early age. So those language and reasoning skills, memorization, hand-eye coordination, imagination and creative thinking, teamwork, and so much more. So I always like to differentiate just so to support understanding, but also advocate for the importance of both. We need these so much in our schools. Alrighty, so before I jump into talking about music-based strategies in the classroom, I would love to open up for any questions that y'all have so far. I know we just went over a lot of information. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to like unmute and wave your hand and ask, or you could drop it in the chat as well.
Hey, Lydia.
Hi.
I'm a music teacher in an elementary school.
Yeah.
My son, he had a traumatic brain injury when he was younger, and he's overcome a lot. But I hadn't even thought of the suggestion of music therapy in his IEP meetings.
Sure.
I mean, if that was something that I thought might help him, would I first ask for an evaluation, or like what do parents need to know?
Right, absolutely. So yes, as with anything, as I'm sure you're familiar, being a student or a parent with a student who has an IEP, everything is an IEP team decision. So usually what parents will do if they are wanting to request an evaluation is ask for a meeting, and you can always bring in research articles. You can bring in, hey, my child responds in these ways to music at school or at home. I've heard that music therapy can help with some of these areas of need. I'm requesting a music therapy evaluation, and talk about it as an IEP team. But I always recommend that parents sort of bring in specific reasons that they're asking for the service. So I would really like to see if music therapy could help with his communication or his academics or whatever you would like support with. And then also bringing in reasons why you think that he would benefit. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And so that evaluation would be done by music therapists, not just like a paper checkoff thing, right?
Yes, correct. It does have to be a formal evaluation.
And Lydia, could Greta go to musictherapy.org for some of the research?
Yes.
I don't even know if we have any in this area or not. But I was thinking about other students that I have with some severe needs, but they seem to do really well in music class. You know, they respond to the music that I play, and I could see that helping them too.
Yes, well, and that's one of the things that I would encourage all of y'all who are music educators to do, is to advocate to your administration and to your districts, especially when you see students who have learning differences within your classrooms that respond well to music. And some of those are the referrals that I get from people within the school system. I'll get referrals from, I actually had one a couple of weeks ago where a school psychologist had gone in and observed a student within his chorus class, and that was like the only time during his entire day that he was participating, that he wasn't overly anxious, things like that. And so those are absolutely wonderful referral reasons. Let's see, I see a couple of questions. What is the cost to the school? How is the service paid for? Yes, so it depends. That is the tricky part about music therapy services, is that if it is requested by a parent or an IEP team, from what I understand, the school does have to take on the cost of paying for the evaluation and then the service if the student qualifies. And so if I understand correctly, within the public school system, that is then like incorporated into their budget. And so, but there are, yes, there should be music therapists. Let's see, several in Lexington and Louisville. Yes, and so you can always look up on that musictherapy.org, and then there's also often state-specific music therapy sites that you can look at as well, where you can find music therapists working in the state, and that school systems can contact to see if they would be able to come in and do an evaluation. Let's see. Would be paid for with special education. Yes. So it's paid for with those funds through the state. But then, like I mentioned earlier as well, sometimes schools will opt to use like grant funding or things like that, or will try to pursue outside funding to do like music therapy groups, some of those more programmatic approaches that I was talking about earlier.
But Wendy's right. If it's deemed by the ARC and that it's a need for the child, the school and the district will have to pick up the cost for the therapy. So that would happen and come through the school and the district. So Wendy's 100% right there. So an IDB could pay for that.
Yes. Thank you so much for the clarification. Awesome. Any other questions for right now? I'll leave a little bit of time too at the end. Alrighty. Well, this last section, we're going to jump into talking about music-based strategies in the classroom. And as I was kind of sitting down to think through what I wanted to talk about, there are just so many ways to incorporate music in the classroom. So I'm going to focus on 3 today. So number 1 is using music as a cue or a timer. And so this is something that regardless of your area of expertise, your area of education within the school, that you can utilize within your classroom with really students of any age. And so this just involves using music as a prompt, as a nonverbal cue for what is about to happen within your class. And so this provides clear expectations and anticipated end time and helps to decrease those repeated verbal prompts. So as we all know, when we have a classroom full of students, it can get loud and it can be hard to be consistently, hey, everybody listen, hey, it's time for, I need to give you these instructions. Hey, it's time to clean up. Everybody, it can just be exhausting on your voice. And so using music as a cue, and I'm going to give some specific examples on the next page, but it could look like using the Jeopardy theme song when it is time to start class, and this needs to everyone needs to be quiet when the Jeopardy theme song comes on because you're about to give instructions. This could look like using the song Trashing the Camp from Tarzan when it is time to clean up, that everybody knows when that song comes on, then they need to put away all of their supplies, they need to pack up their backpack and line up at the door. Whatever your procedures are, you can set them for your students, but it helps to familiarize students with those classroom procedures and can also help to decrease a lot of anxiety for students. I know that in the schools over the past couple of years, especially with COVID, there have been a lot of unknowns. And so I think just any ways that we can help to provide predictability within the classroom setting, within the school setting is so helpful. And so tips for success, be consistent with it. If you're going to have a song for that kind of cleaning up and packing up, use the same one. Make it purposeful. I love it when people play music within their classroom. I think that is great to have background music, but also if you're going to use it as a specific cue, make sure that it's purposeful. Make sure you have communicated to the students what is happening when you play that song, and don't overuse it. We don't want our students to get sick and tired of hearing it. So try and just kind of be intentional about when you're using it. And so some specific examples, I love using the TV show theme because I think it's kind of, as we think about a TV show theme, when you hear it come on, you know what show is coming next, right? You're familiar with it. And so include your students in choosing their class's musical cues if you feel like that would be helpful. It gives them kind of some ownership and some responsibility over what's going on. And also it's just fun to kind of brainstorm. You could create a list of songs and then vote on which one is going to be your cue for XYZ. So some ideas, maybe transitioning to another task. If you do centers within your class and they're going to need to go from one thing to another, using the Jeopardy theme or Mission Impossible, Price is Right, or the Pink Panther, just some kind of iconic ideas. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the idea for cleaning up or packing up, doing that Trashing the Camp from Tarzan. Stephanie Level, who I mentioned earlier, for those of you who have elementary students, that her song Time to Clean Up is so catchy. I was literally had it stuck in my head last night. And so anyways, those are just some examples of how you could use music in that way, but you all can also brainstorm about if there are other routines within your class, like if you in the middle of every class, have some sort of task that you have to do or activity, you could pair a song with that. Just something short, 1 to 2 minutes. There's lots of kind of options out there. Let's see, I see. Oh, yay. Yes, I clap rhythms to focus attention. That is a great one as well. Especially doing like a call and response. If you clap it, they have to clap it back to you. But as with any of these things, just make sure you are clearly communicating what's going to happen. And it often takes students a few classes to catch on, but hopefully it makes your life easier in the long run. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, yes, great to focus attention, absolutely. is music to help decrease stress and anxiety in the classroom. I know that this is something that we see a lot of times in the schools, regardless of what age group you work with. You never know what students have gone through during the day. You never know, what's going on at home. And so I think anytime that we can intentionally use music to help decrease that stress and anxiety is helpful. So one of my favorite ways to do this is music and movement. Endorphins released from moving to music. Some of you were talking about earlier, like music making you feel happy just listening to it. When you tie that with movement, which also releases those happy endorphins, can help to decrease that stress and anxiety. And, studies show that students who are allowed to move when they are learning and are given movement breaks retain information much, much better than students who are expected to, sit still for the entirety of class. And so, incorporating that movement can increase attention and focus and alertness, and then also can help to provide a more inclusive environment by supporting the sensory needs of students with disabilities. I have a lot of students who I work with who need to move. They crave that, they need that to be able to focus and attend. And so they're able to participate so much more within those general education settings if they're allowed to do that. And those are kind of just some built-in ways to be inclusive. All right, and so the next thing that we are going to do, I heard that you all did some breathing techniques and things earlier, but we are gonna bring it back, and we're just doing lots of relaxation this Saturday morning. We're gonna do a little bit of what I call progressive muscle relaxation. And so we talked about music and movement as a way to decrease anxiety. We're also gonna talk about music and relaxation. Providing grounding experiences gives students an opportunity to breathe and to check in with their body and emotions. Whenever you provide some opportunity to ground, like what we're going to talk about, it is never about it being perfect or your students participating perfectly in it. It is just about giving that opportunity to take some deep breaths, to check in with how they're doing. School days can be hectic for students and teachers, and so just giving them an opportunity to truly take a little break, even if it's just a couple of minutes long. So one way that I love to do that is just putting on something calming and just deep breathing to music. You could just sit in your chair and we're just going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth for the entirety of a song. That is something so simple that you can do with your students. But what we are going to do today is PMR, which is progressive muscle relaxation. And this is a relaxation activity where you tense your muscle groups, you hold for a few seconds, and then you release. And the thing that I love about PMR is there are lots and lots and lots of scripts and recordings for all ages that you can find online. There was one that I was looking at for preschoolers the other day that is a YouTube video where it guides you through it, and it uses animal illustrations if we're going to stretch our back like a cat, or we're going to pretend like we are XY, animal. So that provides some good imagery. And then, for your students who are in middle school, high school, this is applicable for kids of all ages. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to share my computer sound. So I want you all to let me know if you can hear this. Give me just 1 second, and we are going to do a little bit of a relaxation exercise together. Okay. Oh boy. All right, hold on. Okay, well, that's not working. I'm just going to play it on guitar. You'll get the get the idea. Okay. All right, so I want everyone to kind of get into a comfortable position. You don't have to lay on the floor or anything, but do make sure that your feet are flat against the ground. And you could place your hands in your lap or to your side. It's up to you. And then also you are welcome to close your eyes if you want to. You can also just kind of gently leave them open, whatever is most relaxing to you. We're going to take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Take another deep breath in and out. And continue that breathing pattern in through your nose and out through your mouth. All right, and we are going to start down with our toes. And so what I want you to do is just tense the muscles in your toes and hold it, and then release. Then we're going to do the muscles in our calves. Tense, and hold it, and then release. All right, moving up to our thigh muscles. Tense, and release. Great job. Make sure that you draw your attention back to your breath periodically, that you're still just letting the breath rise and fall in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to draw our attention to our abdomen. Tense those stomach muscles and release. All right. Now we're going to move up to our shoulders. I want you to tense your shoulders up to your ears. Then hold it. Then release. Feel the weight of your shoulders and your arms and your hands dropping down. All right. Now I want you to ball your hands into fists. Tense. And release. All right. And finally, we are going to scrunch up our face into a tight ball. And release and let your jaw fall open. We hold so much tension in our jaws. Just feel it. Release. All right, we're going to take 3 more deep breaths before we're done. Breathe in. And out. 2, breathe in. And out. 3. Well done, everyone. Sorry, my headphone fell out. All right, well done, everyone. So that's just a super quick example. I mean, there are PMR scripts that you can find out there that are 10 minutes long if you wanted to do a long relaxation. But then there are also some that are just a quick 2-minute, and that is something that I never regret doing with my students, is giving the opportunity to move or the opportunity to ground themselves and relax. Let's see, Cassandra said, I do PMR before bed every night, so I just told my brain it was bedtime. Works great. The body starts to express it. That is awesome. I love it. Yes, we can. Our brains are so amazing in what they can do and remember. All right, so the very last thing that I'm going to share with you before I open it up for more questions is just music in the environment. This is something that I think is also so easy to incorporate, is just using music to set the mood or the tone, which I heard some of you say in the chat that you already kind of do this with playing music for your students to support them in focusing. But so many of you talked about earlier too, how you use music to affect your environment, whether you're working out or at your house or in the car or etc. You know, we use music to give us space to relax. We use music to give us space to get hyped up. We use music to give us space to to just like kind of set a joyful tone for the day. We use music to help us process when we're feeling sad. And so music can be such a powerful tool for creating a positive environment in your classroom. And so just having music playing when your students come in, or when you have them, you know, working on some sort of independent work, like just thinking about how you can intentionally use music to create the type of environment that you are hoping to have for the day. All right, well, that is all the things that I have. And so I just wanted to open up for these last few minutes. If anybody has, oh, yay, I see Rachel say, I would love to do this with my theater kiddos before we start rehearsal. Yes, absolutely. I think also if you're ever doing any kind of, like you said, any kind of performance or any kind of something that's maybe more structured, like testing, these are always great opportunities to kind of center before you move into something like that. Yes, great way to start a crazy Monday morning. I think the kids call this vibes. Yes, setting the vibe. I love it. Yes, my kids have been very hard to wrangle and calm this year. Absolutely. I feel that. I feel like sometimes there are just some days that I'm like, man, everybody is having a rough time settling down. And so something that you can do too is if you have a classroom full of kids that are super hyped up, I always recommend kind of providing what you think that they might need. So if your classroom is kind of going crazy, providing some sort of like movement and dance experience first. There are lots and lots and lots of different awesome movement songs out there. And then, you know, thinking about like for younger kids, there are lots of movement songs for kids, but then also for older kids, bringing out something like the cha-cha slide or something like that. You can kind of find something for everyone, but doing that first to help release some of that energy. And then if you're really needing a calm environment for the day, then you could do something kind of more relaxing, kind of giving that what they need first, and then progressively moving into where you would like them to be for the class. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions? Ooh, I already have a teacher in mind who can use these strategies with her classroom. Can't wait to share. Yes. Ooh, yes. Being mindful of how long a student is seated all day long is big. Absolutely. I do not do well staying focused and attentive if I'm sitting all day long. So I cannot imagine for our students.
I love the PMR activities that you were talking about. We do like mindfulness exercises in my counseling classes, and I'm gonna start doing more of the PMR with them. I really like that, from the ground up or from the head down, however.
Absolutely. And you can totally, like I said, like that was just kind of a quick example, but you can like focus on every little, you know, thing working up if you need kind of a longer activity as well. Yes, I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, this was much needed. It was a short Saturday, but I don't know if you're like me. I just needed this. This was a great, it's been a very busy week for all of us, especially we've had 4 sessions this week, but this was a great way to get a quick snippet of 2 hours, but a powerhouse 2 hours. I think you all would feel the same way. Great 2 hours, a great way to kick off the weekend. Thank you so much, Lydia. This was wonderful. I know if you all are like me, there was so much in these 2 hours, like, woohoo, I'm so excited. This was wonderful. And I think everyone would agree. Everyone loves music. This truly, this and Deb's session has truly spoken to our soul with this. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your profession and what it's doing for kids. It's amazing. It's kind of like every one of these people that are on this session, because we know their work is so important and your work is so important. So thank you for being with us. Juliana was right. You're a rock star. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put your session evaluation in the chat. Make sure that you complete that before you leave on this beautiful Saturday. And Cassandra, before you go to sleep, because your PMR has already started. Listen, I know I say this every time, but thank you all for what you do. You all are amazing. And the fact that 27 of you all showed up on a Saturday morning after we've already had, a super labor intensive week. The fact that you're showing up for kids to learn and to be better, that's amazing. You don't have to be here. This is a pick and choose session, but yet you all are showing up to be here live just because you want to be better. Speaks highly of you and what you all do. And I'm excited. Dr. Evans and I said, I say that truly. You all are my people. I feel better each time that I'm with you all. You all make me want these sessions to be better. These are amazing sessions. We're still, if you have anyone that you all would like for me to reach out to, we're still trying to get more of these music sessions lined up for my music, my band, my choir people. So if you know somebody specifically, let me know. This was amazing, Lydia, and you all have a great Saturday.
Thank you.
Yeah, great way to end the week. I agree. Great way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm looking forward to next.
Your smile, it lights up my whole day.
Oh, I love you guys.
Like seriously, you are all, and like I get distracted watching your video, and the way that you like respond to everything everybody says, because you're so positive and you're always like smiling and you're saying yeah, and then you'll say no. I just love it.
Well, I won't pick my nose then. So since you're watching me,
I won't judge you if you do. It's okay. It would still be beautiful. It would be beautiful if you do.
Oh shoot, y'all never know what I'm saying.
No,
Hey, I will tell you. I'll stop the recording before I tell this. I'll tell a funny story on myself.